How's it going, everyone? Welcome to another episode of What's Up With. I'm your host, Andrew Cogswell, and this is the show where we talk about the history, lore, and much more of all your favorite pop culture topics. For those of you who don't know, Rogue One, a Star Wars story, comes out later this week, and we here at Subtrendy are so excited. We're going to see it on Thursday night, and there'll be a review up later this weekend, so make sure you check that out when it comes out. Here on What's Up With, we're going to actually talk about Rogue One. We're going to talk about some of the old extended universe stuff and what inspired Rogue One. Now, a special shout out to Thomas, who is our resident Star Wars nerd, for helping me compile, and by helping me, I mean compiling this entire thing for me, because I know nothing about the extended Star Wars universe, but he did a lot of work and put in a lot of work for this, so thank you for Thomas. Without him, this episode would not exist. So, thanks, Thomas. For those of you who haven't been keeping up with Rogue One, the main plot is the rebellion back from A New Hope and Empire and all that. They're going to steal the Death Star plans, and this movie happens right before A New Hope, so we see A New Hope opens up with Leia getting the transmission for the Death Star plans, so this is directly leading up into that. Main character's name is Jyn Erso, and she is played by Felicity Jones. Now, when talking about stealing the Death Star plans, really where this whole idea comes from is actually from the old canon, before Disney bought the rights and essentially said, hey, the extended universe doesn't exist anymore. It's now called Star Wars Legends. It's just stories set in the Star Wars universe that's not canon. And really the big hero from stealing Death Star plans in Star Wars Legends is Kyle Katarn. So, Jyn Erso, it looks like is getting kind of based off of him a little bit. We're going to go into that. For those of you who aren't familiar with Katarn, he's most famous for being in the Dark Forces and Jedi Knight video games, and spoilers for a game that's over a decade, or games that are over a decade old. He started out as a stormtrooper working for the Empire. Sounds kind of familiar from The Force Awakens last year. Now, Katarn does pretty well for himself. He works his way from being just a lowly stormtrooper to becoming an officer, and he's about ready to get sent out on a very long space mission, working for the Imperial Navy. So what does he do before going on this long journey in the Imperial Navy for 5 years and being on a giant star cruiser traveling through the stars? He gets on a cruise ship traveling through the stars, because it's nothing like relaxing like just doing what you do at work. Now, while on his little pleasure cruise, Katarn learns all about how the Empire destroyed his home planet of Sulan. They pretended to be rebels, and it was kind of a false flag operation in order to hurt the rebel, I guess, perception among the citizens. Now, the rebel agent who brings Katarn this news is named Jan Ars, which sounds kind of familiar and a lot like Jyn Erso, who's our hero once again in Rogue One. So Katarn leaves the Empire after they blow up his home planet, and Jan Ars takes him to meet Mon Mothma and join the rebellion. So we're once again kind of getting Rogue One vibes, because in the trailer for Rogue One, we see Jyn meet Mon Mothma. And Katarn's first mission for the rebellion, of course, is to steal the Death Star plans, which, once again, the plot of Rogue One. Now, Katarn was actually a really good pick for this mission because he was able to use some of his Imperial connections to help him get into the base containing the Death Star plans, and he successfully steals them. So right away, Katarn proves how valuable he is to the rebellion. He was able to do this crazy important mission and pull it off very well. Now, it might be important to note that some of Katarn's later missions require him to take down the Dark Trooper project, which might be mirrored in Rogue One as they try to destroy the Death Troopers and the TIE Strikers. Anyway, the plan that Katarn got in his first mission for the Death Star was actually only a part of the schematics, and it was actually part of a larger operation by the rebellion to simultaneously get all the parts. Now, this mission was called Operation Skyhook, and it was a way for the rebellion to very quickly and effectively cripple the Empire. Now, after the mission, Katarn brings the schematics to the Corellian Corvette Tantive 4, which fans may recognize from A New Hope. That's actually the cruiser that Leia is in at the beginning of A New Hope, and it serves as the base of operations for Skyhook. Another section of the Death Star plans was actually secured on the Death Star itself by a bunch of rebellion prisoners. They broke out, got into the fire control room, and got the plans and beamed them to a colony that was in support of the rebellion. Now, this was actually first seen in 2005's Star Wars Battlefront 2, and it was later confirmed in Star Wars Legends canon. Now, after realizing what happened, the Empire had to act really quickly. They sent a contingency of units to the rebellion colony, to deal with getting the plans back. But the Bothan spies had created a fake set of blueprints, left it at the colony, and transmitted the actual blueprints to the Tantive 4, where Leia is. Now, Vader's pissed at this point. His plans for his giant death machine have leaked worse than the next Assassin's Creed game name, and he's sending his 501st contingency to go to the Tantive 4 and retrieve the plans from the rebels. Now, the final part of Operation Skyhook was to retrieve the super laser schematics from the planet Tuprawa. Now, the Rebel Strike Team sacrificed their lives to send the super laser schematics to the Tantive 4, which is actually actively assisting in the mission. And so finally, the Rebellion had the 3 plans to the Death Star that they needed. and they can move on to the second part of Operation Skyhook. Now, what's interesting here is, are we going to see the Death Star plans in Rogue One all in one area and just one mission, or are we going to see something like Operation Skyhook where it's divided into 3 units? Based on the fact that we're only getting one movie, it'd probably be safe to assume that it's all going to be together, and they're not going to have 3 different units going on, but it could. They could all just happen in the background. We never know. Now, the second part of Operation Skyhook was actually to get Obi-Wan Kenobi back from Tatooine. It's not really clear why they felt like they needed Obi-Wan. He could have been like sort of a Mockingjay character. Shout out to you Hunger Games fans all the way in the back. And kind of been like the figurehead for the rebellion kind of thing. The other reason they could have wanted to get Obi-Wan back was they realized they need Jedi in order to fight the Sith. So they understood that Obi-Wan was already with Luke, and they wanted to reunite Luke and Leia to start their training. Once again, this is all hypothetical. We're not really sure why they wanted to get Obi back. It's not really clear. But this leads to the speculation, is Obi going to have his own movie or appear in future Star Wars movies? If he's such an integral part of Skyhook, if they're following Skyhook relatively closely in the movies, are we going to see Obi-Wan? Who knows? It's an interesting theory. It's been floating around the internet for a while now, so we'll have to wait through Friday to see. Anyway, as Tantive 4 closed in on Tatooine to go find Obi, Vader and his 501st started to close in, and if you need an outline of how well that went, just go watch the beginning of New Hope. So a lot of the information presented so far is about the old canon, which isn't super relevant anymore. It's all in Star Wars Legends. It doesn't exist in movie canon now. So what's the point? Well, it kind of gave you some insight onto maybe some inspiration for Rogue One, but what about the Death Star in canon? We're going to take a look at one of the new books, Catalyst, and spoilers, a little bit of spoilers for that, and see kind of what we know about current canon as far as what sets up Rogue One. So in Catalyst, we learned that the creation of the Death Star comes from sort of an arms race between the Separatists and Republic back in the Clone Wars. It's okay if you don't remember the Clone Wars, it didn't really matter. So way back then, this scientist named Galen Erso was working for the Republic in the Energy Department to build this sort of battle station. Now Galen will actually be in Rogue One. He's played by Mads Mikkelsen, which I'm really excited about because Mads Mikkelsen is beautiful. Now Galen's also working with Orson Krennic, who will also be in the movie, and as they're working on this battle station, they kind of get obsessed with kyber crystals, which are the crystals that Jedis use to make their lightsabers. Now, during their research, they find out that kyber crystals have the potential to harness huge amounts of energy, which I don't know what took them so long because the Jedi have known this for forever. But yeah, they just had to weaponize it. And they continue this research well into the transition from the Republic to the Empire, so around the end of Episode 3. Now, surprising no one, the Empire can be kind of assholes sometimes, and Krennic was no exception. He became so focused on kyber crystals and weaponizing them that he actually was strip mining planets and destroying entire systems looking for kyber crystals. Now Galen didn't know what Krennic was doing. Krennic was so focused on using the kyber crystals to build this super laser, but there was an Imperial officer who was a little bit more in the know. And that Imperial officer was Wilhelm Tarkin of Grand Moff Tarkin, infamy from the original series, and who actually oversaw the construction of the Death Star. If Coruscant was the King's Landing of the Star Wars universe, then Krennic and Tarkin were the Littlefinger and Varys of the Star Wars universe. They're constantly trying to one-up each other for power. Now the best part is we can probably expect to see this rivalry extend into the films, which could be really cool. Now as time went on, Galen and his wife Lyra began to kind of suspect what was going on with the Death Star and what its true purpose was, and ultimately Krennic's activities and what he was doing with the kyber crystals. Now they eventually leave the Empire and leave Coruscant, and they settle on Lamu, but they don't really stay long. Krennic is actually seen in the trailer bringing Galen back to the Empire, so we see him being separated from his family. Now, if you didn't catch Galen's name earlier, the last name's Erso, so this is actually Jin's father. So Jin has lost her father to the Empire, giving her some motivation for trying to work with the rebellion. When Galen is taken from his family, we can assume that he knows what the Death Star project is, and the curious question is he going to try to sabotage it from within, or is he just trying to get it done and so he can be back with his family? We'll have to wait till the movie to find out. Now, real quick before we go, there is one other theory I want to talk about with Rogue One. Film Theories, a really great YouTube channel, brought this up, and it's about the Knights of Ren and how they tie into Rogue One. I'm not going to talk about the whole thing here, but essentially what the theory is that the Rogue One crew that we're going to see in the movie end up turning into the Knights of Ren. I'll link the video somewhere in this box you're watching, and yeah, go check it out. It's a really great theory. It's really interesting. I can't wait to see if it's true because it'd be really cool. Anyway, that's a lot of stuff to go over. We're talking about non-canon stuff, canon stuff, theories, stuff like that. But that's kind of the basis for what Rogue One could be and what we can see and expect to see in the movie, and just kind of give you a background on where the idea of this plot comes from. I can't wait to see how much of this comes true. I'm sure Thomas can't either. Once again, shout out to him for really compiling a lot of this, and all of it actually. But yeah, Rogue One this week. Thank you guys so much for watching. Check out our review this coming weekend for Rogue One. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you think. This is the last What's Up With for the year. We're going to take a couple weeks off at the end of the year to have Christmas and New Year's and stuff like that, and, you know, do normal people things. And we're going to work on some renovations, and we'll have a brand new set for 2017. We're really excited about that. So stay tuned. Make sure to check back. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.